Hello, I am Mudita, and welcome back to Satisfactory. This is episode 13 of the load balance playthrough, and today I'm going to tackle plastic and rubber. I have almost all the alternate recipes available to me. I'm going to utilize the heavy oil residue, diluted packaged fuel, recycled plastic, and recycled rubber alternate recipes. These are great alternate recipes that save on both raw resources and drastically increase the output. It will give me nice even numbers to work with as well. Normally I make how much I need. However, with plastic and rubber, I like to make a good amount extra for future projects. I'll have trains soon and will be able to use this all over the map. I'm going to be using this spot right here. To quickly go over what we're doing here, I am taking a total of 540 crude oil, although that's going to be split between the two normal nodes. So the setups are nearly identical. So let me run through the rubber. We're going to take 270 crude oil. We're going to utilize the heavy oil residue recipe to create both the heavy oil residue and the polymer resin that we'll need to get this whole thing started. We'll then use the diluted packaged fuel to create a total of 720 packaged fuel. This is a fantastic number to work with because after we create the initial rubber utilizing the residual rubber recipe, we will take that polymer resin, mix it with water, create some rubber. We're then going to take the recycled plastic recipe. We're going to use 1/3 of the fuel that we created to double that rubber into plastic. We're then going to take the recycled rubber recipe and use the remaining 2/3 of fuel to double that amount into rubber. Now the keen eye will notice some of these numbers don't quite match up, and the reason being, to make this whole thing work, the initial residual rubber recipe won't make enough to get this thing up and running at 100%. So what we're going to need to do with rubber is take 150 and cycle that back into the step beforehand, leaving us with a net of 810 out of the 960 that will be made. With plastic, the setup is almost identical. The main difference being the residual plastic recipe is even less efficient, and so you need to send more from the last step to the previous step. So out of the total 960, 180 will need to be sent back to the previous step, leaving us with a total of 780 plastic per minute. Let's run through the blueprints we'll be using. This bottom floor will be for the water extractors, so the next step up will be our 2 packagers to package the water. The next floor will be filled with the heavy oil residue refineries, paired up with the diluted packaged fuel refineries. The next 2 floors will each be making either plastic or rubber. This blueprint will be used for the residual rubber recipe. Both floors will be using a combination of the recycled rubber and the recycled plastic refineries. So let me get this tower built and we'll load it up with all the machines. And we have a massive tower built. So the very bottom floor was pretty small. Just to kind of quickly go through the way this is going to get laid out. Water extractors down here. This is going to be for fuel. This last section is going to be for the residual rubber and plastic. This next floor is going to house all of the packagers. And from there, we're going to make all of our fuel. So basically an identical setup to this. Actually, all of this is going to be almost identical. Obviously, some of the belts and pipes and stuff are going to have to go in different places, but the layout's going to be near identical. And then we're going to make rubber on this floor and plastic on this floor. In the interest of time, because this episode is fairly recent, I am going to skip ahead to where all of the fuel and everything is put in, and we're going to work on the actual plastic and rubber part from there on. So please hold. And now that the fuel part of the factory is in, we can take a look real quick. It's almost identical to the one that we just set up over there for the power plants. We've got all of our fuel generators. I'm sorry, those aren't fuel generators. These are the fuel generators, all feeding the packagers, which are then feeding the diluted packaged fuel. So pretty much a identical setup to the one over there. The only difference is going to be kind of where all the fuel goes. And we have the final diluted packaged fuel being grouped up into thirds. The reason for that is the first stage of the recycling process uses 1/3 and then the second uses 2/3. But now it's time to build some machines. So I'm going to place all of the machines for the rubber floor of the factory, and then I'm just going to basically mirror it for the top floor, and I'll show that off before I get everything started. Okay, so I honestly kind of forgot that unpackaging water was a different rate than packaging it, so I could have just kept the way it was piped up before, but that's okay. I like doing it this way too. Mark 1 belts are great. Okay, so these ones I think I left at the default setting. However, that's not actually the rate they're going to get used. So I need 90 across the 6 machines. So these are all clocked at 75%. I needed 4.5, and load balancing across 6 is just a whole lot easier. So let's do some of the belt work here. So this should be, you can click right there. I'm trying to get it like even with the actual belts. So I want to try to keep things kind of color coordinated. So try is the keyword. Okay, so polymer resin 30, 30, and 30. So this is 90 and 90. And that is not in the right spot. Okay, so I think right there is really where it's supposed to be. Okay, let's try that again. So 90 and 90, which means this one is going to be 180. So let's just bring this out to like right here for now. Okay, and then as far as these go, let's just grab our splitter here. And then a merger. Oops. So cool thing I learned on accident, if sometimes you misclick on the wrong spot. Like I click there, and now my only option is to move up or down, right? I can actually still press H and nudge it to the correct spot even after I've clicked it once, which is nice. So that means there's going to be 180 on here, so we'll just drag that out to there, and this needs 180. So this is the water loop needed for the residual rubber. And what we're going to do, I can't remember how I had it. Okay, I'm going to place industrial storage bins down here. Not exactly sure where. Yeah, I think I'm probably going to need to reroute those because I'm probably going to have them be like that. Because to have them both right on the line, you have to nudge them in a half meter, which means then everything else is going to have to get nudged half a meter, and it's just kind of a pain and not worth it to me. So I'm going to redo these lines. But this way, I'll be able to do this whole thing in 2 phases. I want to start it up, and I'm going to let all of the fluids back up all the way to the oil extractor. And then once that's all the way backed up, then I'll plug in the polymer resin. Let's see, these are all, this is fuel. So let's just do that. And then I can connect the polymer resin once it's all backed up. And I've got a good way to make sure that it gets up and running really quick and smoothly. But when dealing with the liquids, in my experience, it's just best to make sure all of your pipes are completely full. And so having to do this in 2 stages is unfortunate because it's so nice being able to get everything set and ready and then turn it on and watch the whole thing just come to life from start to finish. Unfortunately, that's just not the best way to do liquids at the moment, from my experience anyways. So we're going to do it in the 2 stages. So we'll have all of it backed up with the fuel, and then we'll connect the polymer resin, and all of the actual solids will start getting made. So okay, so this is how this is all going to get belted up. Since these are just clocked at 100%, we've got just Mark 1 in and out of all of these machines. That's probably the reason I love this recipe so much and these machines, is having completely full Mark 1 belts all over your factory just looks cool to me. All chugging along at their set speed. Okay, so since all of those are Mark 1, that means the next belt, oh, let me grab some more. As I was saying, so since it's 2 full Mark 1 lines, that means that this next belt needs to be Mark 2. Okay, so now to figure out where these are actually getting fed from. So 120 and 120, so this is 240, so we're just going to use our Mark 3. Do the same thing with over here. Just run it down the middle of this foundation. This one is going to run down the middle of this one. We're going to run these all the way down here. To right here. So let's actually move this merger. So we're gonna center this one. And then we're just going to grab our floor holes, Mark 3 lifts, and let's do that one this way, this way, this way. So one plugs in there. We're gonna go to right there, almost. There we go. Okay, so that's how the fuel is getting to all of these machines. The complicated part is going to be making sure that the right empty canisters end up going to the right packagers so that these can all be their own little loops instead of mixing. because I would much rather kind of have them as little systems. Easier to diagnose if there's anything wrong. Okay, so there is that. So for the empty packages, we'll probably do that last. Let's figure out where everything's going from here. So these are all putting out 15. So this right here is 45. So we can put this one, should be right by here. I think it's on the line. Yeah. So 1, 2, 3. Get rid of those. Let's see. Now this is rubber. All right. So 45, 45. So this right here is 90. Nope. Okay. So that is going to plug up into here. This is the next step, the direction that it's going. So let's throw in our splitters. Should be right there. Oh, wait. Nope. It's going to be right there. What was it lining up with? Every once in a while I'm very confused with where the lines are going. Okay, so these machines need 30 each, so this right here can be 60. So mark 1 for these. Which means this is a mark 2. So these both are 120 lines, so that means 240. So 240 is what we need to get plugged into here. Let's see, is it right there? Yeah. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to drop a merger right here, dead center. All right, so that needs 240. So right here is our 90. And let's go ahead and sort out the 150. Yeah, so we need 150 from the final product line here. So these each put out 60. So 60, 120. This would be 180. So instead we're going to split it. So let's just delete all of this and we're going to redo this little part right here. So I need to split this one. So let's go ahead and just throw a splitter down right here. So just plug that right into there. And then we can go ahead and grab a merger. Let's see, how do we want to do this? Oh yeah, just put a merger, 1, 2, 3. So we've got 60 here, 60 here. That plugs in there. This will be 30. So that means, let's see. I may end up redoing kind of how these are balanced at the end because I need to kind of balance how everything's going. So anyways, but that way we've got our 30 going this way. And then this right here is our 150, so we need to mark 3. So let's just bring it out to here. And so I do need to bring those up, right? So I'm not sure where they're coming up, but I think let's just say here and here, just so I can avoid running into these. So in that case, let's just bring you to right here. Let's see, all right, and then just nudge this into place, zoop it up. there, and then into there. So there's one more trick to that whole thing, but let's go ahead and build this up. Oh, and now we're dealing with the plastic, so let's just change it. Okay, so I think these are outputting 60 each, so we need 120 lines out of here. And that means 240 going into this one. And then 480, which is the best belt I have right now, is coming out of here. So let's go ahead and just take this one down. Just take it down the middle of the far tile. Okay, so that needs to feed all of these. But the trick to this whole thing is I need these ones to recycle for this whole thing to get completely up and running, because if we're not using the fuel, that means that those first heavy oil residue refineries aren't going to be running, which means they're not generating the resin, which means that these aren't getting started, and yada yada. So it is a very dependent factory on everything working. So to make sure that we do that, these three are the most important, right? But load balancing 3, really easy. Load balancing the other 13, it can absolutely be done. It's just messy and it's going to take up a lot of space. Whereas if I load balance 4 and then 12, that's just really easy. So that's what I'm going to do. And if you kind of crunch the numbers, at least my mental math, plastic is the worst of the two as far as like efficiency goes, right? It only puts out 60 for this phase with the residual plastic, and then it needs the same numbers. Like this needs 480, that needs 240 as an input. So the 60 is still 1/4. So even if you're only, these are only running at 1/4, that means that you'll only be able to feed 1/4, which is these 4. So in my mind, this all works out fantastic. So the input is 30, 30. So this is 60, and this is 60. So I need 120 to be prioritized over everything else, but I can still get these kind of grouped up together in the meantime. So I can figure out where it all goes. Okay, so we're doing 4 and then 12. So that means with these ones, it's a 3-way split. I don't normally like doing this where they're really close together, because if you ever, I just keep putting it on totally the wrong spot. There we go. Because if I ever need to change it, or if there's anything wrong, it's really hard to see. So let's just make sure we get that done now. So 60 is needed for all of these, right? Let's just get that out of the way. Which means these ones are all going to be 120 lines. So let's make sure. See why? There's no reason that. Oh, okay. That would be why. Okay, so make sure we got our Mark II. Let's put that one in first. Okay, there we go. Wait a second. Nope, that one needs to be Mark I. Okay. There we go. Okay, so we've got 3 120 lines. So this is the 360, that's the 120. So the way we're gonna split this is, I guess, let's put it, where exactly should we put this? Right in the very center? Yeah, why not? Alright, so let's just, so it's actually gonna be a smart splitter. Because what we want is to make sure that the 120 is the one that gets filled first. Now the unfortunate thing is, let's see, this is actually 360. So there we go. So once everything is up and running, I can make this a Mark II belt, a 120 line, so that you don't get the stopping and starting on the conveyor belt. But to start up, you need it to be the Mark IV so that you actually get all of the initial plastic to get the thing started. If you only use a Mark II, then it's only going to get the amount the fed, and there's going to be huge gaps on the line, and it's not really going to work out the way you want it to. So this is how we make sure that the whole system gets started real quick and easy, is using that smart splitter to prioritize the 3 machines that are going to be recycled. And then there we go. So that's how that's going to come over here and then split, and having this nice long belt will help it start up even faster. The more that it can kind of store. It'll only take 1 or 2 cycles. It'll be pretty nice. So one of the other things I want to make sure that I'm doing here is, since I'm using the fuel from this side, because that's where the fuel is coming up, this whole side is going to be the one that fuels the plastic floor. I want to make sure that I'm using the same source of resin. So we're going to use the resin that's from those. There's 180 resin. That's not where I wanted it. So we're going to make sure, there we go. We want to keep the systems separate to make things as easy as possible and less likely to get all screwed up. So I'm not quite sure how I'm going to build the lines for the water yet, but I do know how I'm going to do the rest of this. So the last major piece is to get the empty canisters back down to the packagers. So I think what I'm going to do, we're just going to bring them all. Well, this is just not quite big enough, is it? Okay, so I'm going to tidy this up off camera most likely. But let's just take this out. Let's take that out for now. I'll fix that corner later. And we're just going to extend it. Actually, I probably don't even need to extend it that much. Because what I want to do is just bring them right down here in the middle. Now, let's see. Okay, so we brought that there. So let's do this. Okay, so this top floor is going to get fed from these ones, because it's going to look almost identical. The only difference is it's only going to have 3 of the residual plastic machines opposed to the 6 for the rubber. So I'm pretty sure, but let's double check. So these machines are being fed by this line right here. So this right here is what we're tracing back. So it's these machines here. which are being fed by that water, which is this one right here. So right here. So this right here is where I need those ones to plug up. So my idea, let's see, so second one in. Sure, let's get them facing outwards. So nice view of all the empty canisters. And, you know, I might as well just put all of them in right now. Okay, so the idea here is going to be, this one's going to come down to right there. This one will go 1, 2. Okay, so then from here, let's actually start at the end. So we can go out to here. Is that as far? I think that's as close as I can get. Yeah. So let's see. Let's just go to right here. So we're gonna need to throw the lifts in. Okay, and then basically just imagine that mirrored for that side. So I need this one to be right there. Oh, and back one. There we go. And then I just need this to match up with the very last one, which would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is that the right height? That looks pretty straight. So let's just make sure that's Mark 3 once I grab some more beams. All right, so Mark 3. There we go. Okay, so we made sure that that one is the same. Now let's make sure the next one's okay. So the middle one goes to those. So where is the middle one going from here? So the middle is these ones right here, which is this water. So okay, so the middle goes with the middle here. Okay, so that's easy enough. So let's just go ahead and put that there, and 2. I don't want to use flashlight. There we go. Let there be light. Okay, so we've got that in. And so that means we just got to make sure that the middle one plugs up to the middle one here. So let's, can we snake it in front? Let's see. All right, so for these ones, we'll just grab our Mark 3. This is the real easy one. 1, 2, oh, can't quite make it. Plugs into there. Let's just delete that so it's not going straight through the belt. So this should be able to go to right there and then plug right into here. Perfect. Nice right angles. So this one, we get to add a little bit more spaghetti. So let's see. Let's see, how do we want to get this out of here? So let's bring this out to right there for now. All right, so we're going along here. So why don't we bring it? We'll bring it down the middle of this one. Let's do that. So it's gonna go here. So if you didn't know, normally a lift is that height, right? But if you 1, 2, 3, if you wanted a half height lift, the distance is 3 is what you need, because now it depends on which direction, which one you connect it to first will depend on it'll be 1 meter off in either direction depending on which gets connected first, but it becomes really finicky. Like I was showing, like it only wants to connect that way going this way, but if I connect this one first, then it'll let me do this way. If I delete these and retry it, I could probably do this one first, and it's very temperamental because I'm not sure it was exactly designed to do that. So my suggestion, if you do want to use those, make a blueprint of all the different variations that you would need. So that is what I've done here. And I forgot to put them in their own category. So let's just put that one right here. And then, oh, actually I just need one, don't I? So once it's down, you can change the mark, and it's now no longer a blueprint, but it still just saves a ton of time and effort. And now I can have that kind of like in between height that you normally have to just make weird height lifts to get, or you have to do like this sort of a thing for. So yeah, definitely just use the blueprinter. Spend 10 minutes being frustrated, and then you don't have to spend that time ever again doing it. It's pretty great. So we'll just snake that around there, and those are our empty canisters. And those will feed into the very last line. So we just grab this lift, put that there, and there we go. So that is that whole loop, the fuel empty packager system. So let me get the top floor done, and then we'll go ahead and power on the first phase. And now both floors are done. So as you can see, this is an almost identical setup to the floor below. The main difference being that the fuel is coming up on this side instead of this side. And there's only 3 refineries needed for the residual plastics phase. And for now, I'm going to sink all the plastic and rubber until I figure out how I'm going to get it back to storage. So, and I just left myself some labels just to give future me a little bit of an easier time. But these are all labeled with how much is going in there. So it's 810 in total for the rubber and 780 for the plastic. So my next step is going to be to load up all of the packagers with empty canisters and basically make sure that I have enough from this end to this end, and then we'll be able to turn on the first phase. Now that we're all full of canisters, I can go ahead and turn this on. So I'm going to watch it come to life for a little bit, and then I'm going to go ahead and skip quite a bit. However, I will keep the timer accurate, but I won't make you watch the empty pipes fill up. Okay, and now we are backed up all the way to the oil extractors. Still check. Yep, both of them are backed up. So now we can go ahead and plug in the polymer resin and watch the rest of this come to life. Once this sink and the one above it have the full 480 running into it, we'll be able to tell by there just won't be any gaps. That means that this whole thing is pretty much 100% up and running. Well, it's sure looking like the rubber's done. Let's see, how about plastic? Well, it's looking like plastic is done too. So it may take a few more minutes for all the machines to stay on and read 100%. But one of the really nice things I have found about load balancing all of your factories is being able to look at the power graph. So right now we can still see it's still kind of all over the place for consumption. But I think if we give it another minute or two, all of these machines will just stay on. Yeah, it's the refineries down here aren't staying on at 100%. So I'm going to leave the timer running for just a little bit longer just to prove a point. It's looking like all the refineries are finally staying on. Let's double check down here, but I don't see why these wouldn't. The one lone packager. Is it just waiting for empty canisters? Oh no, I think it was just a visual glitch. Alright. So now you can see we went from having a crazy paragraph to pretty steady. So one of the huge benefits of load balancing, everything runs at 100%, and I can generally tell if anything is wrong with one of my factories just by seeing if something is turning on or off. But most of the time it's going to look like this, all four just rock steady lines, and that's what you love to see. So I now have 810 rubber and 780 plastic a minute. I am syncing it all currently. The next step is going to be creating a good size electronics factory using that Caterium node somewhere over there. And that's going to use some of both the plastic and the rubber. So look forward to that. And thanks for watching.